Open up the starter project for this video in IntelliJ IDEA by choosing Open from the Welcome to IntelliJ IDEA window and navigating to and selecting the project root folder. If you see one, hit Import Changes on the pop-up. Now, before we begin, I first want to point out that there's helper code here that you'll use in the IntelliJ IDEA projects in this course, tucked into a file named supportcode.kt in the project's source main Kotlin folder. There's a wrapper function named example of that will let you execute some code in its own scope and print a header to the console ahead of any of its output, to make it easy to distinguish that code from other examples in the same project. Example of takes a string description for its header and a lambda named action that it will execute. And there are some constants defined that you'll use as well. These are the existing and known future Star Wars movies in story chronological order. Starter projects for other videos may have other constants and other helper functions and classes. Now let's jump right into creating some observables. Open up the main.kt file, which has just one function named main, in which you'll put the examples. Start by creating a new example for creating observable. Since action is the last parameter of example of, we're passing the lambda argument outside the call parentheses. Add to that lambda the following code that creates a new observable of type string using the just method. Import the correct version of the observable class. Just is aptly named, because in this case, all it does is create an observable sequence containing just a single element. Just is a static method on observable. However, in Rx, methods are usually referred to as operators. You explicitly define the observable as of type string, but the compiler can usually infer the type as well. Enter this code in the same example, passing in more than one constant to just. This time you're letting the compiler infer the type. Choose View Expression Type on Original Trilogy, and you'll see that this is an observable of string, just like the previous example. So the just operator is overloaded, and there are variants that can take various number of parameters. Keep in mind that Original Trilogy is still an observable of string, not an observable of a list of strings, even though you're passing it multiple string instances. However, if you want to create an observable of a list using just, you can simply pass a list to it. Add this code to create an observable of a list of string using just. And checking the type of prequel trilogy using View Expression Type or the corresponding key mapping confirms that it is in fact an observable of list of string. So what if you wanted to create an observable of a type from a list of that type? Add this code that uses the from iterable operator, which does exactly that. It takes an iterable of values like a list and creates an observable of the type of that iterable. Check the type on SQL Trilogy and see that it's an observable of string, just like the first example using the just operator above. Now technically, each of these examples so far has been from RxJava. Remember that RxKotlin acts as a layer on top of RxJava that makes it easier to use Rx from Kotlin. You can convert a list into an observable using the toObservable extension on list provided by RxKotlin. Check the type on stories to see that it is also an observable of string. There are a lot more ways to create observables, but these are the basic ones that you'll use quite a bit. Creating observables is fun and all, but it's a bit like blogging about your crazy fun adventures in life when you don't have any readers. You need some readers, some subscribers, and you'll see how to get some next.